Hey guys, what is up? It is Avery, and welcome back to Tweendom Talk Show, the talk show for the kids, the teens, and everyone in between. I am so excited for today's episode, but if you have never seen my face before, hi, I'm Avery, host of Tweendom Talk Show, the talk show for the kids, the teens, and everyone in between. And I am so excited to be able to be your host today. So for this episode, it is our 28th episode. Like I say every week, like literally every week, I am just so thankful to be here with you guys every week for these episodes. And this being the 28th week, it's just astonishing to me that we were able to get this far. So thank you for supporting, and make sure to hit that follow and subscribe button if you have not already. In today's episode, we will be talking to not one, but two young bosses, which is why today's episode is called Be a Boss. One is Christianna Alexander, and the second is Benjamin Wong. And I'm so excited to show you guys everything that they have been doing to make this world a better place. So let's bring in our first guest now, which is Christianna Alexander. She is the CEO and founder of the amazing Sweet Christy. So you know what? Let's just get right into the episode. Let me bring her in right now. All right, it's letting her in. It says that she's connecting to the audio, so I'm just gonna give her a couple seconds. Okay, it says she's connected to the audio, so let me see here. It says her face isn't on, so I'm gonna give her a second. Okay.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really good. I am so excited to have you on the episode with me today.
Thank you.
So let's just jump right into it. So you are the great Christianna Alexander. I'm so excited to have you on, and you are the CEO and founder of Sweet Christy's. So tell everyone what that is.
Okay, so it all started when I was around 12 years old, where I wanted to have a business because I saw my parents wanting to have a business. And so I started like bringing out these cool different ideas on like my business and stuff. So
Yeah.
it all started with baking, which did not go very well. And next is art, which is I'm really good at art, but I saw it wasn't like growing big, like as big as I wanted to.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started to figure out, oh, maybe soap can be good, because I never really made soap in my life. I never really tried to make it. So
Yeah.
I was like thinking, oh, it's kind of artsy and hopefully it would make me a lot of money.
Mhm.
And so during that process of making soap, I saw that it was getting big and I was like, okay, maybe I should stick with doing soap. And so when I turned 13, I got enough money to open up my own soap studio. So we had a big grand opening for that. And when I was 14, I started to do more pitch competition and a lot of vending.
Mhm.
And since I just turned 15 about like weeks ago, and now, yeah, so I'm still moving on with my business and I'm still making a good process of my business.
I am so excited for you. I love how you were able to break down your journey. And one of the main things was like you combined two things that you like doing, and then were able to make it into a growing business. So tell us a little bit about what Sweet Christie's has to offer.
So what Sweet Christie's offer is, so it's all bath and body products. They're really natural. So I have my soaps, which is, and all of this, it looks like desserts. So it looks like all my favorite treats that I used to want to make like when I was like 12 years old, but I couldn't do it. So I have my popsicle soap, macaron soap. So, I'm mainly focusing on my popsicle, not really my donuts. And I'm also focusing on my gingerbread since Christmas is coming. And so I have my oh shoot. I have my whipped sugar scrub. I have my body butter that is amazing for your skin. It clears up like any acne or like different type of things that's on your skin. It'll clear up so fast. And I also have my bath salts and my boxes. I have a skincare box, and I have my regular celebration box that comes with a water bottle, stickers, my soaps, my products and stuff. So it's really cool. And I'm also coming out with this new face mask that I'm making, and it comes with a silicone brush.
Oh, I am so excited. I need to set a mental reminder so I can go and buy that as soon as it comes out. based off of all of the products that you just listed, which one would you say is your personal favorite?
My personal favorite is, so I have two actually. I like the whipped sugar scrub and the body butter. I just love them so much. They feel so good whenever you take a bath or take a shower. It just makes you like relax, and just whenever you have candles around, makes you feel like you can take a deep breath and just relax in the bath.
Okay, definitely, because I feel like we all just need those chillax, laid back days.
Yes.
I know for a fact that your products will make sure that I am also making sure that I'm staying healthy, and at the same
Yes.
time, I'm relaxing and chilling because I want to do that 24/7, especially after a stressful day.
Mhm.
School. Oh my gosh, I need to do
Oh yeah, like schools, and if you have like other activities like doing sports stuff. I know I do golf. I'm starting basketball and I'm doing swimming, so that's a lot going on. But
yeah.
I'm trying to like push through it because I have my friends helping me, so it's really good, and my parents too. So yeah.
That actually helps us roll right into my next question, which is you are 15 years old, and
Yes.
that means a lot of school at the same time while having to manage the business that is still growing to this day. So, how would you say you balance it all? Is it difficult sometimes? Like, what makes it difficult? And, like, what advice would you give to some audience members who may want to start their own business but are having a little bit of struggle with school right now as well?
So as like for my schedule, I usually, since I do virtual, not go in because I think virtual is easier and healthier because COVID's still out there. So
Yes.
I usually do my school, make sure I get all of my work turned in early, because if
Mhm.
you do it early, then sorry, you have more time to do whatever you have to do later. So I get
Mhm.
all of my stuff early, and I just do school, and then I do my work on a little bit with my business. I go to the studio, do whatever I have to do that day, and then I do either golf, swimming, or any of like other things, personal things, and I usually repeat that. But if it's like for say for school, if there's like something that's going on, like we have to stay in school more, I try to like more really focus on that because school is more important really.
Yes.
And that's pretty much it. And like my advice, if you guys want to start a business, is to take it slow. Don't really rush it with the business, because running a business is hard. I thought it was gonna be so easy,
Yeah.
but yeah, just make sure you take write down some ideas. Make sure you want to do that specific idea, and make sure you like talk with your parents, and just just like take it easy, because running a business is not easy.
Yeah, I can completely agree with that. Lots of the time, you don't want to like jump right into it and almost like the last thing you
Yeah.
want to do is make it a priority over school and some of the other personal things that may be going on in your life. Like, you want to have a good balance. And in my opinion, I agree with you. School does come first because of the fact that
Yes.
you want to make sure that you're educated. You want to make sure that and like strive for those good grades, and at the same time make sure that you'll be able to learn because you're going to have to use all the things you learn in school like the rest of your life. So definitely I would say just make sure that school can come first, but also like have a good balance and not go too quick into everything.
Yeah.
So another one of my questions I actually have, you mentioned that you do golf, you do swimming, you're starting to get into basketball. What are your favorite things to do personally, just besides doing things for Sweet Christie's?
Well, yes, I like to golf. I like to swim and do basketball, and I also love to skateboard.
Ooh.
And yeah, I love doing like skateboarding. I do it I just usually go with my friends. We usually do it in the street. We usually go to the skate park. So I pretty much chill and just do all my other athletic activities, and just pretty much skateboard and just hang out with friends.
One, it's so funny because I have wanted to learn to skateboard. I think that it looks so cool and it seems like it takes so much skill. And I'm like, okay, so I may need to hit you up for some tips on that because
Yeah,
I
for like when it comes to skateboarding, it's just like you have to have a great balance.
yeah,
But before you like want to start, you're gonna have to get some like shoulder pads and like helmet, because we don't want that accident. But for me, really, I whenever I started, I didn't have to use any of that. I just went on and just start skateboarding. I was like, whoa. And I did not fall at all. I was like, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, okay then. And then I just started skateboarding and I'm good at it.
Yeah, see, I would have cuts and bruises all down my legs, arms, and like, yeah.
Well, actually, now that I remember, when I was like little,
Mhm.
my mom's friends like sons, they had like a skateboard, and then I usually just hop on the skateboard and just sit on it and just roll down the hill. So that's probably like how I got the like skateboard into skateboarding because I remember that memory that I had like using the skateboard when I was little, like riding down the hills. It was just like used to be so much fun. I miss it so much. But yeah, that's basically how I got into skateboarding.
Wow, that's really interesting. And one thing that I found so interesting when I was learning all about you, I realized that you are also an author.
Yes.
Will you mind talking a little bit about that?
Yes, so last year me and my other entrepreneur friends, we came started like talking about creating this book, and actually I have it right here. It's called The Science Behind It, where I work with 20 of my entrepreneur friends, and we basically talk about our business, our lives, and our struggles.
Hmm.
So yeah, so you can just check this out on my website. It's called The Science Behind It. And there's me on the cover, and here's all the other kids on the back.
I love it. One, I am a huge, huge person for like learning all about the business, about how other young CEOs are doing it. And you being 15 years old, having your own book, and then at the same time having a growing business is just so inspirational to me. So, do you mind saying your website where people can find this and some of your products? And I'll probably ask you to repeat it a couple times throughout the show just to make sure everybody will know. So, check it out.
So you can go on my website at www.sweetchristies.com. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram as Sweet Christies. And it's www.sweetchristies.com.
All right, everybody, make sure to check this out after the show is over. Once again, like I said, I'll probably ask you to repeat that a good 5 to 10 times. I also want to make sure that people can go and check out my guest when the show is over.
Thank you.
Because I am just one that loves to make sure that everybody's messages are heard and spread. And another thing, you're also a dyslexia advocate. And that is something that really stood out to me because of the fact I feel like that's something that's really important. So, what exactly made you decide to be a dyslexia advocate?
So around 6 or 7, I was struggling in school. It was like really bad. Sometimes I used to like cry whenever I get home because I was struggling that bad.
Mm.
And at the time, that's when my parents found out I had dyslexia, dysgraphia, and ADHD. So they put me into this other school that helps people with the disabilities. And I saw that I wasn't really working with that too. So they put me into this new school that I'm in right now. It's called DePaul, and it's a private school, and it really helps. Like, oh my, I'm just like really happy that I go to that school because my reading level is now like above, and like I'm doing so good in math. Instead of like getting like lower grades in math, I'm getting like A's and B's and stuff. So I'm really happy, and that's why I'm a dyslexia advocate. And I used to join this organization called the IRLC, where they help disability people like me, and it's really cool over there because I get to meet like these other people that's had the same problem as me, like struggling in school and reading. So yeah, that's why I'm basically a dyslexia advocate.
One, that story is so touching to me because of the fact that you originally were almost going home crying all the time because of the fact that you were
Yeah.
now you are getting A's and B's in all the subjects that you were struggling so hard with. And I just feel like just learning about your path, about how you've been growing with that is something that's so touching to me. And not to mention everything that you are doing, like, come on, nothing can put you down at this point.
Yes.
Like bury that under the ground. It's not going to take you down whatsoever. And I'm so glad that you were an advocate for that because then after
Thank you.
show that to the rest of the world too. Like,
Yes.
this may be happening to me, but at the end of the day, I'm still able to write my own book. I'm not struggling with school as much anymore. I have my own business. It's just so amazing. I say that word all the time. I'm so happy I only said it like once this episode.
Oh, and I'm actually in the process of making another book just all about me and how I got started. It's like a mini kids book, but it's like for like kindergartens and like fifth graders and stuff. So it's basically for elementary. So we're just trying to publish it all out to this the district. So hopefully we'll get that out as soon as possible because I'm really excited to read it to kids and just make them feel like happy and just know about my story.
Oh, I'm so excited for that. Wait, I need to buy that. I'm gonna buy you out. I'm just looking.
Thank you.
I am so excited for everything that you are doing. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
So now I'm going to move my way over to the live question portion. Lots of the time, the audience on both YouTube and Facebook have some great questions to ask. And so I'm going to move over to those platforms right now. So YouTube, you guys always go first. So I'm going to head over to YouTube and see what questions that you guys have for Christianna. So let me move on over. Okay, this can take some time sometimes. So let me move over here. Okay, I'm finally there. So a question that somebody had, wait, let me reload it. A question that somebody had was, how did the pandemic and quarantine affect your business?
So it didn't really affected my business that much, but I saw that I've been getting a lot more sales because we usually now we're doing like more ads and just putting myself out there on social media. So we're just getting more sales and people are like finally like seeing me as an entrepreneur and just like me just getting out there. But I actually kind of like it like this because I remember last year I was vending a lot. I was like so tired and I just needed a break, but I'm happy now because this is my basically my big break of vending. So the great thing is just getting a lot of online sales on my website and stuff. So that's basically it.
I'm so glad it's not halted like at all. That's just something that I find that's really great. I feel like lots of the entrepreneurs out there, like, we needed a break and then we got the break and we're actually doing so one, that's something that I'm so happy that you're able to strive through, considering this is a scary time for a lot of people. So I'm glad you. All right, let me move on to the next question. Okay, what are your goals after high school?
Some of my goals is getting more wholesale accounts and maybe getting a bigger space. And that's technically it. I don't really have like huge goals that I will not really focusing on now, but that's technically it. Just getting more wholesales and just getting a bigger space.
Ah, see, I'm excited for that because
yes,
it's like a step up. Like, ooh,
I can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait for you. I'm so excited.
I know.
Another question that somebody had is, what type of vending shows have you participated in the past?
Some vending shows. So usually I do these kid entrepreneur fests. I usually attend to big fall festivals, Melanin markets. So technically those type of events. But I think the biggest one I've been to is this art festival. Like it's really huge. That there's like a ton of people. I think that's the biggest area that I've been to. But other than that, yeah. The other stuff is like small little kid entrepreneur festivals.
Oh, wow. Like, one, that's already exciting enough. Imagine being 15 years old and being able to say, like, oh, I vended at this place, I vended at this place. Oh, and I also vended at this place. I really enjoyed it. Like, that is so empowering to me. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
I'm 12 right now. So me just hearing your story, I'm like, okay, I will be there. Avery, you will be there. So thank you for everything that you are doing.
You're welcome.
Another question that I actually had was out of all of the products, do you vend all of those products when you're going to vending shows, or do you choose a select few?
Um, I usually like sometimes I put like most of my product out there, but if there's not like a huge crowd, I usually just put out the products that I know is gonna be selling more, not the products that just sell less. So I usually do that. But if it's like a huge crowd, then yes, I might like bring 2 tables to put all of my products on and just my merchandise and stuff like that.
All right, that's something to keep in mind because I was actually wondering that. I'm like, oh, you have all products.
Yeah, that's how like sometimes like events go. It's just some events have not a lot of people, some events has a lot of people, so it's kind of like a balance that you have to do. But yeah.
That's interesting. I'm definitely gonna have to keep that in mind if I ever end up like that. One question that someone had, oh, this is actually a good question. Some teens may want to know, how do you stay positive and upbeat during this quarantine process?
Well, for that, yes, you always have to stay positive because I know, yes, COVID-19 is still here, and you want to like do more things, get out there, see friends, but yeah, all right now you just stay positive. Maybe draw out some. It's actually a perfect time to do like draw out some ideas on like how you want to start your business. So when the New Year's come, you'll like start doing building more of your business, and you can go vending and getting a lot of money. So I advise you to take some Zoom classes, find like different like workshops that you can like start your own business and drawing out ideas because right now is a perfect time to do that. So next year you can just vend and make a lot of money.
Okay, you need to rewind and hear that again, then rewind and hear that again. That is some great advice, especially we are stuck in the house right now, people. Like, unfortunately, in the situation that we're in, we don't want to go and spread COVID out to others, even if you don't have it. So the one thing that you can do is just sit at home, think about a business that you may want to start, and then after just draft a plan out and possibly start it now or during New Year's. Just this is the perfect time to do it because you don't have much to do. I know you don't.
Yeah. Because if it's like the New Year's, you're gonna be stuck and you like when if it's New Year's, you'll be really wanting to start your own business and you probably say to your parents, Mommy, I wanna go vend and stuff and then they'll say, what is your ideas? What are you gonna do? And then so now is a perfect time to do all of that. And so when New Year's, you'll be all nice and set, ready to go and not just like rushing through it and just like struggling. So
10,000. So I'm gonna ask a couple more questions because we do have another guest on the show. So let me move over to you guys, Facebook. Don't worry, I'm not leaving you out, I promise. So let me move on over to y'all. Okay. One person asked, wait, let me see more. Okay. How did the pandemic and quarantine impact your business? Did it give you more time to run it, and did sales increase or decrease? So that's a good question.
So, like I said, during like the pandemic, I've been getting more sales because I've been doing more ads, just getting myself out there more on social media, on my Instagram and Facebook, and I've been doing this live since it was my birthday on October. I started this birthday celebration where me going live and interviewing some of my entrepreneur friends. So you can check those out. Those are still on my Facebook account at Sweet Christie, so you can go check that out. And basically, and I also started this nonprofit called the Sweet Squad, where I have 20 girls, and I usually teach them on Zoom about how to start their own business. And now some of the girls are like, oh my gosh, I literally started my own business. Some do earrings, some do nails, some do bracelets, some do tie-dye shirts. And now we're going to like let them vend and get out there more so they can get more sales like me. So I'm really happy about that. And that's technically it. That it didn't really impact my business that much and I just saw I've been getting more sales. So
Why? Such a catchy name. But the fact that you are impacting so many girls right now, that is insanely great. Oh my
yes.
God. I'm at loss for words. That is impacts that you have. So thank you for everything.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
No problem. And the last question that I'm going to ask, because somebody asked this question, and it's also another way where people can find you, is when do you think that your new book will be coming out, and where can we find it when it does?
So for the book, I don't have like a specific date on that. All I know is just still working on it and getting the animations right. But I will let you guys know when it officially comes out. But you can check on my social media at Sweet Christie's, like on Facebook and Instagram. That's where I usually post more of my stuff. And you can also go on my website where my other book, which is I'm going to show again, which is this science behind it, that costs $20 on my website at www.sweetchristies.com. So you can check that out, and I will promise you that I will let you guys know when the other book will come out.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. It was such a pleasure being able to talk to you today. Everybody, make sure you follow her on all of her social medias. Make sure to check out everything she's doing, along with everything Christianna is doing. It is just so inspiring and empowering, especially to me, being 12, just trying to get me and my stories out there. It's just so inspiring to me. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
No problem. I will talk to you after the show is over, and have a great rest of your evening. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, did you love Christianna? Because I love Christianna. It was just so great to be able to talk to her, everything that Sweet Christie's is doing. And please make sure to go and check out her website. So now I get to talk to the great Benjamin Wong. He is the host of the podcast, Kids CEO Podcast. And I will be letting him in right now. I don't want to say too much. So let me try and admit him right now. All right. Says that's letting him in now. Okay, I'm gonna see. Is his face on? Hello, I can hear your
Hey,
sound.
Avery.
Hey, hi, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. You?
I'm doing really good. It's so great to have you on the show with me today.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Yes, I am just so excited. I heard about everything that you are doing, and it is so inspiring in my opinion.
Thank you.
So first off, I'm just gonna jump right into it. You are the host of the Kids CEO podcast. So
yes,
tell us a little bit about how all of that worked out, how it all started.
Yeah, I'm starting off my virtual background. So basically, how I came up with the Kids CEO podcast, I always had this inkling for, I guess, adult topics like investment or finance, just generally things that adults talk about at the dinner table or stuff like that. And it got to a point where people were asking me about, Ben, what's your stock tips on this? How do I invest? And my mom told me, Ben, why don't you go start a podcast? So that's what I did. And I created a podcast called Kids CEO, creating entrepreneurial opportunities. And through that, I would have different episodes on different tips on different things. It's very broad, but just things like stocks, what are they? Mutual funds, what are they? Bonds, all that kind of stuff. Just trying to help kids get all this adult jargon so they can get ahead of the game and ahead of everyone else.
One, that is so cool to me. I'm 12 and I'm still trying to get my name out there, get started, and I'm like, okay, I need to listen to this so I can make sure I get all the information in. So
thank you.
Where can people find this podcast?
Yeah, so we have the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Radio Public, basically anywhere you can go listen to podcasts. It's also available on our website, kidsceopodcast.com, which has different buttons to go to different places to listen. And we have our Instagram page at Kids CEO Podcast.
Okay, one, I'm probably going to ask you to repeat that like
50 All right, no problem.
because people, I know for a fact, they're probably going to miss it. And then they're going to be like, oh, wait, where can I find this? So one question that I actually had is because you have been doing this podcast for how long?
I've been doing the podcast, let's see. The idea came in summer of last year, I think. But it was really when it was in October when I first officially started it. And then I took a bit of a hiatus for school. And I kind of restarted everything in March, the week right after everything kind of shut down.
Oh, okay. See, that is something kind of rolling into our next topic is about how COVID has kind of started off. So you said that you kind of started back up the week after everything shut down completely. And now it is November and we're still really high in cases. So in thinking about that, has it halted your process in any way? Or if so, how has it done that? And how are you kind of striving through it?
Yeah, I mean, of course, the COVID has affected me and the podcast, but I see it really as a completely positive opportunity. I mean, if we hadn't been shut down, if we weren't in the lockdown, I probably wouldn't have restarted the podcast for a while and made the pivots that we made to get to where we are now. And so really, when I get asked that question about how has COVID affected the podcast, there's nothing bad I can say about that.
Yeah, I honestly feel, I was just talking to my last guest and we actually had the same question, like how has COVID affected you? Has it been like a effect or a negative effect? And when I think of it, it's honestly like a little bit of a break, because when thinking about it, if we were like still in person, everything was like fine, COVID didn't even exist, then afterwards we would be out busy, especially with school and everything, and it would just sometimes get really, really stressful. So honestly, I believe that it's a positive impact too, like to not think of it negatively, but at the same time, it is very, very, oh my gosh, my words are getting like mixed up right now. But it can be a very huge positive impact. So I'm really glad that you're thinking of it that way.
Yeah, of course, any opportunity I see it as a positive, because anything can be really made into a positive if you think about it. And COVID was just another thing.
Yeah, COVID was just one of those things. Like it can have its negative effects, but at the same time, it can be very positive as well.
Yeah.
Going into the fact of school, we are kids. Let's just be real here. We are kids. We still, unfortunately, sometimes have to deal with school. So when thinking about everything that you are doing, how do you balance school along with this podcast and everything else that you are doing? What's exactly your balance with it?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. For me, personally, I have friends. I have a lot of friends who, even in my family, my sisters. I have one of my sisters who's in high school, and their homework load is crazy. Like they go to school all day, come home, do homework all night. Personally, for me, I have to say that I think my teachers did a pretty good job. I'm a freshman going into a new school, and I think my teachers did a pretty good job in understanding that any classwork they give us is also homework. Any homework they give us is also classwork. So they've been pretty conservative with the amount of work they've been giving us. So luckily from that, in this COVID time, it's been pretty easy to manage.
Yeah, I can definitely say, like, with my teachers, they're considering COVID in this matter because of the fact, like, they're at home, yes, but at the same time, there is a deathly virus.
Right.
They're trying to, like, keep their composure. They're missing their friends and everything. So I kind of like how they are keeping the workload a little bit less than what they normally would do. Balance. And when thinking about Kid CEO podcast, there's so much that can go into it sometimes. So lots of people who are watching this probably either don't have a podcast or have never even considered starting a podcast. So when starting one, what are some of the things that you consider? And what are some of the things that you actually have to go through with having this podcast?
Yeah, when starting a podcast, there's 400,000 to 500,000 podcasts on Apple Podcasts alone. And that number has been going up for years. And when there's more podcasts, there's also less podcast areas that there are none. That's a little confusing. But the more podcasts there are, the least podcasts that are new, like entirely a new thing.
Yeah, I've never.
Yeah, because there's a finite amount of ideas in the podcast world. I mean, of course, there's infinite ideas, but in terms of podcasting, there's a certain extent into which new ideas come. And when there's 500,000, it can be difficult to create an entirely new idea. But my say on that is you don't have to create an entirely new idea. There are podcasts like the Kid CEO podcast. There are podcasts I listen to that have plenty of other competitors. But I think when starting a podcast, the number one most important thing you have to look at is consistency. Are you willing to go the extra mile and get episodes out every single week for more than 7 or 9 episodes? 7 is the magic number, because most podcasts that go past 7 episodes succeed. And so when you start a podcast, you have to be asking yourself the question and answering honestly, am I going to be able to go past 7 episodes? Am I willing, and would I enjoy going past 7 episodes? And if the answer is no, you really have to reconsider whether you actually want to start the podcast.
That is so interesting. I never really thought about the fact of there's so many different podcasts in the podcast world, and you want to do something that separates yourself from the rest of the crowd, and that can be very difficult sometimes. And I feel like you are doing a great job of
Thank you.
Like, if I ever want to start a podcast, I will go back on YouTube and look at this episode and get these tips, because I'm like, okay, 7 is the magic number. Like, let me consider that. And I love that one of the things that you were suggesting is for them to reconsider if they cannot meet those certain basic requirements, then afterwards they should just maybe reconsider starting a podcast. So when thinking about this, what is some advice that you may want to give to people that are now officially thinking, okay, I think I want to start a podcast. I think I can reach this magic number. I think I can create an idea that separates themselves from the rest. What's some advice that you would give to those people in particular?
Yeah, so me and one of my friends, Noah, we're actually considering having a podcasting course. We never went through with that, but we did take the time to make all the material. And so from the material, I had this chart of coming up with the podcast idea, because like I said, that's the hardest part of it, because there are 500,000 taken ideas. Yes. And it's hard to be the 500,000th and one idea. But what we looked at is the 3 circles that overlap. It's based after something called Ikigai, which is like an entrepreneurial thing on finding your business idea, but we changed around the numbers. Or not numbers, whatever it is. So 1 circle was about your passion, 1 circle was about your expertise, and 1 circle was about, I think, what the audience wants. So if you have an idea, pretend I'm a lawyer. I think if I was a lawyer, my expertise is obviously law. My passion could be in government. The passion could be in government. And then what people want is unbiased news. Yeah. So then based on that, for that lawyer who loves, I forgot what I said, but for that person, a podcast about unbiased news might be a good idea. And every person is different. So those are my tips on creating your idea for the podcast. What does the listener want? What's your expertise, and what's your passion?
Okay, that is something. I'm taking a mental note right now. Like, I'm like, okay, if I ever want to start a podcast, this is the stuff that you want to do. And I feel like these tips are very inspirational for people that may want to start something of their own, that want to start something that differ themselves from the rest. And when thinking about a podcast, of course, there's equipment and things that go into it. But at the same time, you're also interacting with other people on this podcast, and you're doing it throughout the terms of COVID-19. So when considering having guests on the podcast and using equipment, what exactly are your steps with that? What equipment do you use? What equipment do the other guests who have never been on a podcast before have to use? What are some things you have to consider with that?
Yeah, before I start that, one more thing I wanted to add from the previous question, if that's okay with you. All right, so my thing is, anyone can be a podcaster, or anyone can start a podcast, but not everyone can be a podcaster. I think it's the same thing with entrepreneurism too. Anyone can start a company, but not everyone can be an entrepreneur or a successful entrepreneur. And like I said, it just goes back to consistency. I had a friend who started his own podcast. I think he's on like 3 podcasts now, but all his podcasts went for 4 weeks and then he stopped. So, you know, I had to sit down with him, of course, over Zoom. And I said, you know, I'll just call him Martin. Martin, what are you doing here? Do you really want to have a podcast if we're starting a new one every 4 months? And do you want to grow any of his podcasts? He didn't have great numbers, but he has the potential to have good numbers in terms of podcast listeners. But I was like, do you really want new listeners if every 4 weeks you abandon your listeners and go create a new podcast? And that got him thinking and kind of reevaluating this whole idea. But going back to your question, so in terms of equipment, really there's not much equipment and you need. When I started, I had an iPad that I got from my mom, and I just, in my closet, which I'm still in my closet right now, I had a table, I had a chair, and I had an iPad there, and I was just recording from the iPad, you know, just talking. I think I was talking like the side of it. And yeah, there's not much in equipment that an ordinary person can do.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, and if they don't have an iPad, they can use a phone. If they don't have phones, Apple included earbuds in all their phones, and they're one of the best microphones you can get. I mean, not the best microphones you can get, but for being free, they're very good microphones on just free earbuds.
Yeah, free earbuds. It has like a little mic on the side, and plug it into your phone. And I like to use a voice memo sometimes, and that's how I record myself. And then afterwards, you can like send it. So when thinking about it, honestly, when thinking about starting a podcast, like, yes, you can like order yourself a mic and things like that if you want to make sure, like, he has a mic sitting right in front of him. So if you want to consider some of those things, and like that's considered too, but it's not all that difficult as it seems.
Yeah, my advice, going back on what I said earlier, don't get a microphone until you've passed 7 episodes. Yeah. Because like 90%, I don't have the number, but a lot of podcasts fail before 7 episodes. You don't want to go out there and spend money and then have to return it all. So my advice is have 7 episodes. Once you go past 7, even if your numbers haven't even changed, maybe then it's time for you to get a microphone. That means you're consistent, you're passionate about it. So yeah.
Okay, I'm taking a mental note here. Let me just make sure I do this. And one thing that I learned about you when kind of doing my research before this episode is that you have something called Kidfinity. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. And so I was wondering, would you talk a little bit about that? Because that's something that really stood out to me.
Yeah, so Kidfinity is basically our media company for Kids CEO podcast and one more podcast that we have called Fireflies. Just kind of combining them, sharing resources. And yeah, it was all about the idea of kids have infinite potential, which was the opposite. Originally, what we wanted to call it was Kids Podcast Company, before realizing that was, well, first of all, we couldn't trademark that name, and before also realizing it was limiting us. So the opposite of limiting is infinite. So why not Kidfinity?
That is such a creative name. When I thought of it, I'm like, oh wait, that's like Kid and Infinity put together.
Yeah.
So when thinking about that, are you ever considering like putting more projects with Kidfinity? And if so, what are some things that you have in mind?
Yeah, that's a great question. Me and my friend Noah, he's actually like across the street right now, and he's also a good friend of mine. We met a couple years ago, and we are both involved in coding. He's pretty advanced in coding. I started learning coding a couple days ago, and I think I'm okay at it now. But we both he's been listening to a podcast called How I Built This. Highly recommend. And he got very inspired to go create his own tech startup, own company. And so we were like, we both know how to code. I'm better in business. He's a lot better in coding, logistics. His favorite subject is math. Like, he loves doing this type of stuff. I don't like that kind of stuff. And he doesn't like the business side of it really too much either. So we make a perfect combination, and we're just looking for ideas out there now. If anyone has an idea, feel free to reach out. But we're just right now we're keeping on learning code, running the podcast, and when we find that perfect idea, we're gonna go for it and put it all out there.
One, I just have to say that is so cool that the two of you guys are doing it. It's like perfect harmony, like peanut butter.
Thank you.
People that are creating a business together. I think that is so empowering. So do you mind saying where people can find you? Once ask you to repeat that a couple more times.
Yeah, so they can find me on my personal Instagram at official Benjamin Wong, official spelled like official Benjamin Wong. And also they can find me on my website, benjaminwong.org, Confinity.co. I'll say it again, Confinity.co, not a typo, .co. Yeah, and of course they can find us on all podcast networks.
Okay, so once again, I'll probably ask you to repeat that a couple of times. Make sure to go check that out directly after the show, because I know that you want to be able to keep up with everything that they're doing. It is just so cool. I'm going to go listen to the podcast after this. Like, come on, I just need to listen to it. I've learned so much just from sitting and talking with you right now.
Yeah, and I don't consider myself to expertise, but some of these kids on the Kids CEO podcast, what they're doing is really amazing. Jaquil, Kid Everest, just to name a couple. They're so inspiring, and when you listen to it, you get all fired up and inspired to go out and be the next whatever. And yeah, I think that's the magic of a podcast.
Yes, completely. And I actually was able to learn about you through my friend Nyla. She was on the show a couple of weeks ago, and I was able to learn that she's going to be on the podcast soon too. And I'm just listening to it and thinking about everything, and I'm like, these people that are on the show along with you are just so inspiring and encouraging the next generation and this generation right now to just make sure to go out and start your business. Like, don't let anybody stop you just because we're young. Like, come on, we're young with a lot of potential. So this
definitely
is one out of the many things that are teaching people and encouraging people to go out and do that. So that is something that is like mind blowing, so cool, like so dope. I'm so proud.
Yeah, I'm excited for Nyla's episode too. If I can do a little promo. Sunday, the Sunday, Nyla Bethia. I forgot how to say her last name, but she'll be on the show. It's like I think it's like a 40-minute episode, but just talking about her experiences, not always the positive experiences, but the realistic, what it goes through to be an entrepreneur. And it's actually a great episode. And she has a cosmetics company, but to be honest, we hardly even talk about cosmetics. It's just about the story behind it, the emotions behind it. Yeah.
That is so, like, I need to set my calendar. Like, let me, this episode is over, because I need to listen to that. Lots of people don't really know, like, the pure realistic side of it. Sometimes it can be very tough and very
definitely
to be able to start a business like this, and especially considering like we're young too, like there are a lot of different things that can go into it that is very different from the adult experience.
Yeah,
so that's something that I'm excited to look forward to listening to, so you should be too. Now I'm actually going to go into some of my audience questions, because of the fact that the talk show is live streamed on YouTube and Facebook. They sometimes can create better questions than I can myself, so let's just go and look at some of those. So YouTube, you guys already know, you are first. So let me go over to you guys right now. Okay, one question that someone asked is, what is the podcast Fireflies about? Are you the host of both?
Yeah, so Fireflies is a kids debate podcast. Basically, it's when we bring in two kids every episode to debate a certain issue. I think the last episode we had was about police brutality and police reform. And it's a pretty good podcast and entertaining and very educational. Whereas Kids CEO is more inspirational. Fireflies is more about education, fair, unbiased debates from kids like you. And yeah, I've taken a bit of a hiatus from the podcast to try to get more episodes of Kids CEO out. But I'm hoping to get back on that soon.
Okay, I'm going to need to listen to that one too, because I personally, I like listening to debates. I love that. It's one of my, cool things. I've always wanted to be on a debate team. Unfortunately, my school doesn't have that. But it's that I find that so interesting to be able to learn different people's sides of the story because everybody comes from a different background, and I just feel
Definitely.
like being able to learn two different perspectives of two different people, like just a respectful debate conversation. I think that is so cool to me. So I'm gonna need to do that one, guys. You guys should too. Even if you're not a big fan of debates, I wasn't either until I started watching some. So you guys will like it. I know it. One question that somebody had is also one that I was going to ask was, what are some things that you like to do outside of Kid CEO podcast and the other things that you are doing with Kidfinity?
Yeah, let's see. One big thing recently is coding. I've been learning Python, just some like YouTube videos, and it seems actually pretty easy to do Python. I think coding seems complicated, but Python, I think anyone can learn pretty easily. And so that's been a really fun, exciting thing to do. You know, being able to type into the code and being able to amaze some of my family and friends. And yeah, it's really fun, and it's amazing what a couple lines of code can do. Also, I am a violinist. I've been doing violin for about, let's see, 8 years? Yeah, 8 years. I've been playing violin. And that's a nice way to relax, cool down.
Mm-hmm. That's so cool. One of my friends actually does violin, and I literally like his little mini practices like over the phone. I find it so amazing, even though I cannot for my life. I think I played violin in kindergarten, and that was it. It was not extra. So all of the things that you're doing, it's really, really interesting. And
Thank you.
the question that I had before getting back into the audience ones is, how do you balance doing some of the personal things that you like doing along with the business? Like, what exactly is like your strategy when it comes to balancing everything?
Yeah. My strategy right now, I consider having like 3 jobs, so school, kid CEO, and everything else. And so I just kind of found school is the one thing I can't control. So I kind of base everything else around school. Luckily, I don't know how it came to this, but there's these time slots every week in school where I basically don't have school. Like Tuesday, there'll be a block in the middle of the day where I just don't have anything. Because it's like PE and elective, which don't really do anything. So then during those times, I just kind of do some coding, do the other stuff category, I guess. And then on Monday, Fridays, weekends, I like to focus on Kids CEO and getting new episodes out.
That's actually a really interesting strategy. When it comes to me, when thinking about it, like I said, like school is a kind of priority, like is like my big, I'll say, like I feel like school can come before all of like the personal and business stuff. Like of course like family will like come before school in my opinion. But like all of like my personal things, like I dance, and also I really like to play games with my friends, be on the phone. Like I feel like school, and then afterwards sometimes like the work side, because I just want to knock that out. So I really like how you consider it almost as like 3 jobs. That's a very interesting strategy, because then you can like categorize everything.
Yeah.
I really like that strategy. I'm gonna have to look into thinking of it like that.
Thank you. Yeah.
A question that I find that's very interesting is somebody asked, which one do you prefer hosting sometimes and why? Fireflies or Kid CEO? That is a cool question.
That's a difficult question. It's like choosing which is your favorite child. Let's see. There are definitely pros and cons to each. Kid CEO is about bringing out the best in other kids. Fireflies is bringing out the worst in their arguments. Like they're kind of polar opposites in ways. Whereas Kid CEO, I'm trying to show why they're amazing and to inspire the audience. Whereas Fireflies, I'm trying to tell them why they're wrong. So yeah, there are definitely pros and cons to each. So I don't think I can answer which one I enjoy more, but those are both very enjoyable things. They each have their own pros. They each have their own cons, and I'm just honored to be able to reach out, just being able to reach so many people through these platforms.
Yeah, I would definitely have to say when it comes to like choosing things, I
Yeah.
am for one. So that already is a negative effect.
And I guess I'm a bit of a hypocrite because I ask this question all the time. Like even today, I had an interview 2 hours ago where I asked someone which of their activities is their favorite, like if they could only have one. So I guess I'm experiencing the other side of that question. But
Yeah, definitely like two different things.
yeah.
And the last question that I'm going to ask because we are starting to run out of time. Somebody asked, I think they were late to the episode, but they asked, where can we find these podcasts? I really want to listen to them. So this is like a good time to like repeat like where people can find you and everything.
Yeah, so let's go through it. Websites kidceopodcast.com, KIDCEO podcast.com, benjaminwong.org, BenjaminWong.org, kidfinity.co, kidfinity.co, our Instagrams at kidceo podcast, also at official Benjamin Wong, and yeah.
Okay, great. Everybody, please, after this episode is over, make sure to go and check out everything. It is so inspiring. And at the same time, if you really just want to listen to a challenge, you can go and listen to Fireflies as well, figure out everything he's doing, send over some ideas, like everything that is going on. So inspirational. So thank you. Thank you
Of course.
for being with me today. It was a pleasure having you, and it was great talking to you.
Of course. Also, one more thing I wanted to add. If you guys all need hyperlinks to the episodes, you can go to apple.kidceopodcast.com and it'll automatically bring you to the podcast, or spotify.kidceopodcast.com and it'll bring you to Spotify.
All right, everybody, make sure to do that too if you want to get there ASAP. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
No problem. It was great having you. I will talk to you later. Bye.
All right. Thanks.
Okay. Did you guys enjoy it, Ben? Because I did. I learned so much. I have never even considered starting a podcast before. But that right there just kind of gave me a little bit of inspo. So make sure to go and check out Kid CEO Podcasts, Fireflies, Kidfinity, and more. Thank you so much for watching today's episode of Tweendom Talk Show. This is episode 28. Be back next week, same time, same place, for yet another episode where we will be having some cool guests, some fun, and be able to learn a lot more about some different experiences. And yeah, I will see y'all later. Bye.